Live from KSAT 12, the Night Beat starts right now.
And we begin with late breaking news tonight. A man pointing a gun at deputies is shot and rushed to the hospital. Barrow County Sheriff's deputies were serving a warrant at the time of the shooting.
This happened on Parton Lane near I-35 and Judson Road. The Night Team's Patty Santos joins us live there from that scene. And Patty, we understand the deputies tried a lesser use of force before opening fire.
Yeah, Myra, the sheriff says a 63-year-old suspect was wanted on a warrant for aggravated assault of a child. Two deputies with the fugitive apprehension unit knocked at his door. The sheriff says one of the deputies came face to face with the man in the garage. The sheriff says the man threatened officers and told them he had a gun and wasn't going to go with them. They tried to use a taser, but it didn't work. When the suspect pointed a weapon at deputies, that's when one of them fired two shots.
But he did point the weapon, and my understanding is even after being shot, that he continued to try to raise that weapon.
The child pointed a gun at the deputy.
And the man was shot in the hip and is expected to survive. The deputy who fired the shots will be on paid administrative leave. The deputies have been with the sheriff's office for 12 and 25 years. Myra, Steve.
Thank you, Patty. Broken windows, flames, and a Molotov cocktail, all part of an hours-long standoff on the northwest side. At the end of it all, a 29-year-old man found dead after barricading himself in his parents' home. An identity still not released tonight. Police did confirm the man's parents were not at home at the time of the incident. Investigators say the man was fighting with his neighbor last night, resulting in broken windows at his neighbor's home and vehicle on Stonehaven Road. Officers say he then set the neighbor's car on fire this morning. The man then barricaded himself at his parents' home on Litchfield. Police Chief William McManus says officers did report seeing the man armed with a rifle, and at some point the man set fire to his parents' home and threw a Molotov cocktail off a balcony. It is not clear how that man died tonight. Officers say he was found dead on the second floor of that home.
We are now hours away from the end of the first 14-day coronavirus quarantine at Joint Base San Antonio Lackland. Members of the first group of evacuees are set to be released tomorrow if they do not show any symptoms or test positive for COVID-19. So far, we know that JBSA Lackland, Methodist Hospital Texan, and the Texas Center for Infectious Disease are being used in the local response procedures. San Antonio Mayor Ron Nierenberg, along with Barrow County Commissioner Tommy Calvert, are joining the effort to keep evacuees at Lackland during this quarantine.
The communication has been constant with CDC and Metro Health. Our challenge is we want to make sure that we have a better protocol with regard to the travelers at the Lackland facility and making sure they're not unnecessarily transporting when they're not positive, so we don't overwhelm local and state facilities.
The mayor says the protocol to move patients to local hospitals was established between the CDC and the Defense Department.
Meantime, we know 22 rooms were made available at the Texas Center for Infectious Disease. It is still not clear how many patients are using those rooms, though the CDC does confirm some of them are being used. They did not say how many patients were being treated there, what they were being treated for, and if anyone else has tested positive for coronavirus. Ultimate transparency in government, this is not. San Antonio Mayor Ron Nierenberg did say they would need to get that number from the CDC. We also reached out to the CDC today and yesterday asking the same questions. We still have not heard back. Speaking of a lack of information, here are the latest look at the numbers we do have. The first group at JBSA Lackland included 91 evacuees. One of those patients tested positive for the new coronavirus and was taken to Methodist Hospital Texan. The city says that is the only positive case in San Antonio. JBSA Lackland is also holding a second group of evacuees. On Monday, a tally of 145 evacuees recorded for a total of 235 people quarantined at the military facility. Metro Health is also monitoring travelers who came in from China. It is unclear how many of those travelers are under self-quarantine in Barrow County. That number was also never released publicly. The city only confirmed there was a group of travelers here on February 9th. That's all they've told us so far. City officials have said the risk to the public remains low. This is a story we're going to continue to develop and continue to try and get the community's questions answered. A cruise ship passenger that was flown from Japan to California and stopped there is being treated for the COVID-19 near Travis Air Force Base in California. Be sure to download the KSAT app and sign up for push alerts.
New on the night beat, meth and gunfire leading to one woman dead and her husband in handcuffs. The shooting happened east of San Antonio yesterday morning in Stockdale. Wilson County Sheriff Joe Tackett says the shooting happened as the couple's children were in the yard. 35-year-old Anthony Davis eventually told authorities he and his wife were smoking meth in their truck before heading to the store. Investigators say he then mentioned that she did not want to go to the store. Sheriff Tackett noted that there were a change in Davis's story, one being a claim of an accidental shooting. The couple's children are now being cared for by family members in San Antonio.
A convicted child predator facing a new charge tonight. Donald Barker arrested today on a charge of indecency with a child by contact. An arrest affidavit says the victim was hanging out with another minor at Barker's home. After drinking alcohol, the victim fell asleep. The victim told investigators that they woke up to Barker touching them inappropriately. In 1987, Barker convicted of aggravated sexual assault of an 8-year-old boy.
Today marks 3 years since multiple tornadoes touched down in San Antonio. Dozens of homes were hit, hundreds of thousands of dollars in damages done. It was a Sunday night around 10 o'clock when tornadoes started to touch down. Thankfully, there were no injuries, but major repairs were needed. This was the view on Linda Drive, not far from the area of the quarry 3 years ago. Now take a look at what we saw today when we went back to look at the progress. Here's what Linda Drive looks like now. Things mostly in order, but one homeowner did share with us that he is still working on repairs to the inside of his house 3 years later.
And Adam, that's an area you're very familiar with.
Very. I was there that night shortly after the tornado struck, and then even followed up with folks there for several weeks and months afterwards. And that was an EF2 tornado with maximum wind speeds estimated at around 120 miles per hour. On this night, almost this time, 3 years ago. But what's mostly changed on Linda Drive is the lack of a tree canopy. They had all those big, tall, old oaks. Not anymore. It's just pure sunshine, not as much shade. And that goes for parts of Alamo Heights as well that got hit by that same tornado. All right, 49 right now. Today, a different day. Just on the cool side out there. We were near 50 all day long. You can see from our live cam that the fog and drizzle is starting to settle in again. And it's going to be pretty thick as we go through the morning tomorrow. So anticipate a morning rush hour. That's a little on the damp side. And not only that, we'll have some sprinkles, a few light showers. And get ready for the wind to be the headline. We'll talk about it all coming right up.
All right, thanks, Adam. An ethics hearing against the mayor of Leon Valley has been postponed until next month. The complaint at the center of that hearing was filed by Councilwoman Donna Charles against Mayor Chris Riley. The ethics hearing was set to begin tonight, but the mayor asked for a continuance because there was evidence against her submitted by Charles just minutes before tonight's meeting was supposed to begin. The hearing is now set for March 9th. The ethics complaint was linked to a city hearing in which former city councilman Benny Martinez was removed from office over allegations of misconduct. Since then, several lawsuits and recall petitions have been filed. The mayor is running for re-election, and Martinez is also running to get his old seat back.
You can have your buses and protect your water, too. That's the idea the city of San Antonio staff are pitching amid plans to upgrade the community's transportation system. Having both issues covered would mean more money. City Hall reporter Garrett Berger digs into the plan.
As the city tries to find a way to get moving on massive transportation plans, may have found an answer to a nagging question.
They don't want us to lose sight of the importance of the Edwards Aquifer Protection Program. This is a commitment to do that.
The plans for transportation developed by the nonprofit Connect SA and championed by Mayor Ron Nirenberg will require almost $1.4 billion more over 5 years. One of the key funding components is a 1/8 cent sales tax that currently funds linear creekways and the Edwards Aquifer Protection Program. For months, the question has been, if that tax is redirected to transportation, what will be done with the Aquifer program? The city staff's answer, keep it going, but with a different pot of money.
We are recommending is that we would issue $109 million in self-supporting debt over 10 years.
Instead of sales tax dollars, the city would pay the debt with money it gets from SAWS, which started sending a bigger cut over to the city this budget year. Another option would have been to pass the program entirely off to SAWS, but staff decided keeping it in-house makes sense, since the infrastructure is already in place.
Meaning the employees that do the work. We have the contracts with the Edwards Aquifer Protection Program to do the monitoring.
But council members had questions about the effects of using that pot of SAWS money, especially on water rates.
I know you said that you don't foresee any rate increase, but we don't run SAWS.
The city CFO says the plan was always to continue taking a larger cut of SAWS money, regardless if it was used for the Aquifer program.
They're going to evaluate it at the end of that 2-year period of time. It is a cost to SAWS, so eventually it would be something that would make its way into rates, yes.
Garrett Berger, KSAT 12 News.